around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence. It is a system which has conscripted vast human and material resources into the building of a tightly knit, highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations. Its preparations are concealed, not published. Its mistakes are buried, not headlined. Its dissenters are silenced, not praised.
Millions of people just living out their lives, oblivious. Choice is an illusion created between those with power and those without.
I drink your milkshake. I drink it up.
Thank you, John Larson. I receive your kind words on behalf of all of our courageous members of the House of Representatives who want the best for the American people. And what we can do that is best for them in the next 24 hours is to pass affordable, accessible health care for all Americans. The best for all Americans is to have 32 million more people to have health insurance in our country. The best for...
Piece of stinking filth.
Shh, sitting in shop. This is AJ of the InfoWars. Listen to the Shaliak. This is Alex Jones of InfoWars. Listen to Shaliak on the Cold Reality News and Report.
This is the coolest thing I have ever seen.
Well, hello there.
this week on Cold Reality Radio. War with North Korea. Imminent. We'll have to wait and see. Maybe it's just all an orchestration. That's preparing us for the next phase of the new world or old world order plan for the annihilation of most of our species, the destruction of creation, the eradication of nature. North Korea missile was launched. Was it hacked? Trump ready to strike? The nuclear sites fears Kim could reach America. If he doesn't reach America, he'll most assuredly reach South Korea. Battle at Berkeley, the divide and conquer, steps into another gear. Trump supporters, counter-protesters clash. Police sit in patrol car and watch. Clean up the injured and or dead at a later time. Explosions, fights, pepper spray. The Pope on Easter says, cling to faith amid wars and hatred. A false prophet, a liar, and absolute cover-up artist for the molestation of children. And of course, the worldwide pedophilia game that they play with the commoners and the unfortunate children who are part of that. We know it's going on. Nobody wants to talk about it. Nobody wants to address it because it's negative. Nobody wants to speak about the unspeakable or talk about the reality of our world. They just support it no matter what. They just support it because it's easier to go along, to get along. You don't want to stand out. You don't want to be the noisy gear. You don't want to be the courageous, brave folks that really do, along with, the deceived that fight the wars. They don't know what they're getting into. And unfortunately, their lives end with without real meaning. But the system will give meaning to it. The system will label it. They'll characterize it. They will put that spin, the spin zone. that apparently Bill O'Reilly is not spinning or not spinning anymore as conservative, the closest thing to what we really could move towards, the minus. You gotta morph these two ideologies together. You got the conservatives, the Republicans, the Fox Newses that sit there and they talk about God and they talk about values and they talk about all these things. And then they contradict it by loving war, wanting war, while full knowing that they're not going to participate in any of the fighting, the Fox and Friends people or the Bill O'Reillys or the Fox folks. And then you have the liberals who classically are against war, right? Classically against war. But for some reason, it was totally cool when Obama was in there and he just extended things and, they moved things around. Oh, we're going to pull the troops out. And the liberals are like, oh, he's going to pull the troops down. He's doing what we want him to do. He's pulling the troops down. He's pulling them out. Meanwhile, they were building an army of jihadis that's pretty much not even about Islam. It's just about regime change in Libya and Syria and Iraq. Initially, the continual, this guy's hurting his own people. Well, Saudi Arabia has been hurting their own people for a long time. We hear the rhetoric coming from the Trump administration now, which is, basically meet the new boss, same as the old boss. Maybe not exactly like the old boss, but, with that right paradigm that makes things okay. And then, of course, the sicko liberals that once he, bombed the Syrian establishment, then it was like, well, that doesn't make sense that he would do that because Russia and Syria are like super pals and, the Legion of Doom. So, yeah, it kind of makes sense now that maybe Trump's not, like in bed with Putin, sword fighting with Putin. So then, that fucking bunch of retards like Rachel Mancow and the MSNBC mutants fucking spin their thing. They spin their little thing, but make sure not to get completely on board with Trump because they got to keep the hatred going and he stole this and stole that and took this and took that and blah, blah, blah. And what it really was, largely, but not completely, was the destruction of the destruction of many different things from the Obama administration, the destruction of the economy, never allowing it to come back, and then, then just the idiot Americans that just sit back and, they'll say, oh, Obama destroyed the economy, but they don't even really know how he did it, but they just make sure that they're on that side. They're not really truly informed. They don't understand what's happening. And you don't really truly need to know all the details. You don't need to know all the details. You just need to understand the blueprint. You need to understand what has happened in the past, how we've been lied to, people dying, Hussein being installed into Iraq by the West, Mao being installed by the West and the Zionist bankers, and just everything from Korea to Pol Pot and Thailand and all this stuff, all these despots, all this murdering and killing has been orchestrated. It just didn't happen. People just don't kill each other for no fucking reason. People don't kill each other for no reason. You have to create the arena. You have to create the environment for death. And that's what they've done. It happens no other way. The world is not this fucked up naturally. It is an orchestration of deception and corruption that leads to killing and all the awful shit that goes along with war. Now, Saudi Arabia has been fucking raping Yemen for like at least 2 fucking years now. Nobody is doing anything about it. It's not on the news. No one's talking about it. Bill O'Reilly's not talking about it. This one's not talking about it. That one's not talking about it. Because it's okay for Saudi Arabia to fucking rape and murder and behead and do all these fucking awful fucking things, when we should be bombing this shit out of them. And their allies over there. But don't worry. Don't worry. Just keep those who are uninformed, those that don't understand, that don't realize where all this is going. The slow genocide has been going on in America for a long time now. The covert genocide through establishments that lie and tell you that they're here for your benefit, for your good, to keep you healthy, to stop the spread of disease and all that. They've been killing you for a long time now. The church has been lying to you. Fuck the Pope. Fuck all these fucking ecclesiastical cocksuckers. And people that are involved in it. And then, of course, the ones that sit there and say, we don't like what's happening here. I thought that the Catholic Church was like this and that and stuff. When it turns out it's about child molestation and fucking and raping children and just being fucking worthless assholes, scumbag, demonic fucks that sit there and tell you to be and have faith in a world of war and hatred, that they turn a blind eye to while they're fucking the kids, and then the head of the serpent comes to America every 20 years or so, and then tells the cardinals and the bishops and all the other commoner douchebags, oh, just don't try not to think about all the kid raping. It's just try not to think, just put it out of your mind. Pray for people. Pray for the people. And everybody's today is going on their Easter egg hunt. Yay, Easter eggs. Yay, yay. Easter, yeah, Easter, yeah. And I know there's people getting together with their families and blah, 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 brainwashing. We gotta get together for Easter and we're gonna make some food and be like religious. And then the Passovers, all that fucking ideological bullshit. It's all just one big shit fucking sandwich. And then you just got to put that out of your head for a little while because you don't want to disturb anybody. You don't want to get anybody upset. You don't want to destroy anybody's delusions and illusions of how the world actually operates. You want them to, wake up on Easter morning or Christmas morning and watch the Pope from Vatican City talk about all kinds of, we're against abortion, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, right. Yeah, make sure they're born so we can fuck them. But if you kill some of them, then okay. Because they're not, even if it was an organization, it's a corporation. So why would we even listen to a corporation that preaches spirituality and love and and non-hatred and all that? Why would we? Why? Wouldn't you listen to someone who was like, I'm not a corporation, but this is right and this is wrong? You don't need a flattering title to impart goodness to people. Just be kind to them. Feed them. Don't poison them with your fucking McDonald's. Make a sandwich that's with love and maybe not an animal. These are tough things. These are tough choices to make. Whether you're going to eat a pig or a chicken or a turkey or a fish. I guess that's why, they're eating us, right? I don't know. It's nuts. It's crazy. It's crazy. I know. So let's see what's going on here. Let's see what's happening. I don't know. That's my rant. Rant. Lama. It's we sit back and I understand that people just want to they just want to live and they just want to be be free. They want to be this. They want to be that. They want to live in peace. It's and that's all fine and dandy. But when push comes to shove, other than a few things, really are just cowards for letting these people do what they've done all these years. Letting them wrap the Bible in a flag and beat us to fucking death with it. It's sad, really. It's sad, really. Truly sad. All right, so what's going on in the chat room there? What's happening? And now I'm just gonna let you guys decide what. Do you like the music in the beginning? Do you like the half hour of music in the beginning? Is it soothing? What do you like it? Should I continue to do it? I'll let you guys be the judge of that. I mean, I'm still gonna maybe 15 minutes. I really should just maybe write songs that shame the system and those that believe in it. That would be fun. That would be funny. That would be fun stuff. But again, is it my place? I know Maddie does. I know Maddie loves the music. And I appreciate that. Is this last night I was on the site, and around 8 o'clock there was a replay of Cold Reality Radio at 8 Eastern time. So I was like, wow, look at me. Look at me. I used to be on at midnight, and now I'm on at 8. Jane, good morning. So now I'm on at 8 o'clock, 8 p.m. on Saturday, the replay. There's a lot of really, really good programming here on UCY, and I'm happy, pleased, blessed to be in the lineup here. As I said before, UCY was streaming the program, the Sunday morning program, from Oracle Broadcasting, and I was just like, Maddie, do that, man. Send me something. I'll play them. Jules was simulcasting, and I heard that, and I was like, who would listen to this? Who would listen to this? I mean, I'm no Doug Owen when it comes to breaking down the geopolitical landscape. It's always good I was listening to Dougie the other day. He sounds like he's doing well and doing his thing as he always did. Very, 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 intelligent media. And so I was just like, why in the world would someone want to simulcast this my garbage? And then after Oracle Broadcasting was no more, JJ said, hey, there's room for you over here. Sunday morning slot. And then, boom, here we are. Here we are in April of 2017. God, how long has it been? How many shows of just blather and banter? I really do want to be better than I do want to get better. I do want to be better every program. I do want to convey things. I am a special case, and not like the cereal special case. I've never been part of the collective. Don't want to be part of the collective. I believe we're all here for a reason. I all believe that we definitely have tasks that were given to us that we were challenged with. +3 years for Hopper, the Hopper, Mr. Hopper there, Captain Gringo. Concerned with safety. Need some safety going there. And, it's just fantastical. Just all of the things. If you just sit there and you look, and we know that there's huge portions of the alternative media that are, shit, you know. And if you've ever tried to figure out Alex Jones, I think that on this program we've come to an understanding, and let me know in the chat room if you feel the same way. I think we've gotten as closest as anyone can get to who Alex Jones is. And who is Alex Jones? Alex Jones is a member of the bloodline. Do we have Mr. Stokes in the chat room? I know he's a member of the media here on UCY, or used to be, or I don't know. I try to keep up with things. But Alex Jones is a member of the extended family. And it makes complete and total sense that he doesn't want to see things go in a fucked up direction. So there is part of him that I truly believe that wants America to be a prosperous. I do believe those things, but of course there's other things, right? Explain, Hopper. I really truly believe he's part of that extended bloodline. He talks about George Washington as he fucking, handles himself. Okay, talks about George Washington like. I believe that he is. I don't believe that he's sitting there saying, I'm lying to these people and lying to these people, and they're all going to die because I lied to them. I don't think that that's his thing. You know? So I think that the closest that we've gotten to understanding how this whole operation works is these genealogical families and these bloodlines. And there is, like Melonhead Jones has been saying, there is a civil war going on in this country. And when he tells you about the vaccines and he tells you about that's all true, man. That's all true. Grump44 says, may you, not to me, but may you eat peanut butter and beans, get farts that stick to the roof of your ass. That is funny. That's funny stuff. Funny stuff. Funny stuff. So, where are we? All right, let me see. So that's the closest that we can get. Others just think that he's a total Zionist. And he probably is, but I think he understands the power. He understands the thing. And I think that ultimately, Zionism is a huge, huge part of the deception and the things that are going on in the world. But these bloodlines are, a mixture of a lot of shit. A lot of, you got McCain, who's related to Washington and Obama and George. They're all related. As you would imagine, it's one big family. One big family, extended here and there, and they're doing, like Clint says, they're doing what they want with their creation. And I think the biggest thing that we need to understand is the Constitution does not apply to us. We got to stop saying those things, because it doesn't mean anything. It really doesn't mean anything. We are not the people. I think that's pretty apparent. We are not the people. We are not the people here. And so they're going to take their creation in the direction that they want to take their creation in. And that's going to include war. It's going to include all kinds of awful things. I also spoke with, I got an email from Drew. He is Clint's archiver, and he was talking at one point about possibly being excited about the legalization of marijuana in Canada. And then at that time, Clint said, be careful what you wish for. And then, of course, what happened was they are on the verge of legalizing it, or they've already legalized it. And then as a result of that legalization, now they can, the authorities can pull people over and swab, DNA, all kinds of things. They can do all kinds of things to you as a result of this. Now, can you fight it? Yeah, I would imagine Ron is on Rock the Boat. Ron Stevens has probably already addressed this. So let me know in the chat room if he has. I'm sure that if he hasn't, if it's something that's relatively new, that he will be addressing it in detail. It's just how he rolls. And yet another host here on UCY that understands a great deal of the machinations of this authoritarian, totalitarian system that we are all under. And so he has always been one of the forefront, the voices in the forefront of Canadian goings on, if you will. So it's always good again to have Ron break down things. So here we are, North Korea saying that they're going to hit America hard if we don't turn around and move in a opposite direction. A lot of different stories out there. We sit and we look at all the hacking, and we sit and look at all of the cyber related, internet cyber related things. There's been, it's going to get worse. There's been a number of things that I've seen firsthand lately that kind of prove that. And it's going to get worse. As I said, everything's going to start to burst into flames at the same time. Geopolitical, internet, cyber. They've been preparing us for this for a long time now. That cyber this and cyber that, and then Hillary standing up there with her man pants on saying, an internet attack, it will be seen as the same way as a attack, and we will strike you. And I truly believe that she was never, ever going to. It's better for her to have lost because it creates all kinds of chaos. And especially with Trump being the one that wins. This is the equation for exactly what these scumbag social engineers, the globalists need and want. This is the equation. This is the blueprint. If Hillary won, it would just be, there wouldn't be the Berkeley incidents. There wouldn't be this civil war on the commoner level. There's a civil war in the military realm, a civil war in the political realm. And again, it's just going to proliferate and get exacerbated through tomorrow. So we've got the U.S. government hacked SWIFT global banking system, a huge range of security weaknesses said to be worth $2 million if sold on the black market have been leaked online. The tools are said to have been created by the NSA. Let's face it. There you are. Hey, out there, NSA. How you doing? And accompanying documents appear to indicate a possible breach of the SWIFT global banking system. Now, this will most assuredly crash the global banking system. I mean, they're showing it to you on Mr. Robot, if you watch any of that. You want to talk chaos? Geopolitical war and rumors of wars. And then, of course, just the hacking of and of course, whoever it is will be a terrorist, and they'll be like Mr. Robot. And of course, that'll be like, oh, let's talk about that on the fuck box, the fuck your mind into a slab of shit box. All right, so that's and then of course this range of security weaknesses. And I mean, all of this stuff has been built into the tech. All of this stuff has been built into Microsoft OS, server, workstation. It's all been built in. The Cisco switches, all these tech companies that are making incredible sums of money in lieu of the recession, all the things that have happened over the last 8-9 years, which go much further back than that. The deconstruction of Glass-Steagall by Clinton and his Zionist banker guys. And so as we move forward down the line, this is the way this whole operating system the whole world is just an operating system, okay? And it's hackable. You're hackable. You've been hacked. Your brain has been hacked. These systems are created with holes, and even the companies like McAfee and who else? Just all of these high-level supposed security companies. I mean, look at Kaspersky being one of the number one security software out there in America. I mean, this guy Eugene Kaspersky, he's Russian. He's selling quite a bit of his software to American companies and things like that. So that's why all this stuff's been built in. I mean, look at Windows 10 alone. I had to load a program, which very well could be a hacker right there, but it's built to not only install firewall blocks and rules to block all of these sites that Microsoft sells all your information to. Apparently that's what I've seen in there. So not only does it do that, but it takes a thing called the host file, and then it puts all these blocks and all these different configurations in there to stop Microsoft from being able to, steal your shit. But they will. Linux is probably the best way to go. Very, very simple to create yourself a Linux machine. All you have to do is download Knoppix. You can download Knoppix, and then you can burn it to a USB drive. You can boot to that drive, and then you can actually try to surf and do your banking and different things like that with this Linux-based system, which, if it's not Microsoft or Apple, it's better than it's better for you. It's better for you. So keep that in mind. It's very simple. You can use it. You can boot Linux to any Windows system. All you have to do is download the ISO, and then move from there. There's a lot of people. I'm sure there's a lot of people in the chat that know how to do that. And so the banking system will be hacked, and that will be an excuse for a crash to maybe cover up the fact that they've bankrupted the entire fucking system and stolen everything from everyone except them and their families and their minions and those who support it in DC and over in the European Union, in their parliaments, and all these basically wretched people that if there really was a hell, these people would have a front row seat. All right, so how Vault tools used by private contractors build MSM News. Who is using chemical weapons on the Syrians? Who was involved in Russian election interference and fake news during the 2016 elections? Who shot down MH17 in 2014? Someone, somewhere has to be doing something, right? These are some of the top stories over at Blacklisted News. This is George Eliason, and he writes for Blacklisted News. Look at that. So let's begin at the end. The fastest way to get things done on a geopolitical level has become hiring the private intel and policy-making professionals and letting them loose as experts into the mainstream media. All right. Read more about that over there. Going to go through a list here. If any of this information interests you, kind of get over there. I'm sure the same stories are on the UCY feed as well. And so let's see here. The last country we liberated from an evil dictator is now openly trading slaves. It is widely known that the U.S.-led NATO intervention to topple Libya's Muammar Gaddafi in 2011 resulted in a power vacuum that has allowed terror groups like ISIS to gain a foothold in the country. Despite the destructive consequences of the 2011 invasion, where they lied and said that he was killing his own people, being an evil dictator, and Team America has got to get in there and right the wrongs. The West is currently taking a similar trajectory with regard to Syria. Just as the Obama administration excoriated Gaddafi in 2011, highlighting his human rights abuses that are the same human rights abuses that are going on in Yemen, the same human rights abuses that are being done to us medically here in America and other areas of the world. These human right abuses, insisting back then that Gaddafi should be removed from power to protect the Libyan people that we care about so much that we murdered all of them, or they murdered them in our name, and all these other NATO countries. The Trump administration is now pointing to the repressive policies of Bashar al-Assad in Syria and warning his regime will soon come to an end. But of course, we never say that the Saudi Arabian regime will come to an end, because they apparently are allowed to, to just kill and murder and attack Yemen and do all these awful things, because they're just allowed to. Okay, they're just allowed to do these things, and that's just the way it is. Let's see, all in the name of protecting the Syrian civilians that they, in most cases, won't even let them leave Syria, and they want to kill as many people as possible, as many commoners over there, to even have a more justification for what future plans are on the table. Anti-media is the source, and but as the U.S. and its allies fail to produce legal grounds for their recent airstrike, let alone provide concrete evidence to back up their claims that Assad was responsible for a deadly chemical attack last week, more hazards of invading foreign countries and removing their heads of state are emerging. This week, new findings revealed another unintended consequence of humanitarian intervention from Team America, the growth of the human slave trade. The Guardian reports that while violence, extortion, and slave labor have been a reality for people trafficked through Libya in the past, this slave trade has recently expanded. Today, people are selling other human beings out in the open. The latest reports of slave markets for migrants can be added to a long list of outrages in Libya, said Mohammed Abdikar, head of the operations and emergencies for the International Office of Migration, an intergovernmental organization that promotes humane and orderly migration for the benefit of all, according to its website. There's no doubt that this is just another UN type thing, that they create the situations and then they need to make it look like there's organizations out there that give a shit and care. All right. And they're all pretty much, they all have Hydra, the Hydra, fingerprints on their creation. So they're not really opposition. They're controlled opposition. But somebody's got to report it, right? Why not the controlled opposition? The North African country is commonly used as a point of exit for refugees fleeing other parts of the continent, Libya being northern Africa. But since Gaddafi was overthrown in 2011, the vast, sparsely populated country has slid into violent chaos. There's bring in the order. And migrants with little cash and usually no papers are particularly vulnerable. All right. So if you want to hear more about that over there and how what our tax dollars went into the creation of, because we're all responsible. We're all responsible for this. There's no getting out of it. Of course, you can claim that it's not happening, or you can claim that, that it's fake news, or claim that it's this or that. No, the world knows. The world knows. And just like in America, half the world gives a shit and half the world doesn't. And the half of the world that doesn't has all the fucking money. And the half that doesn't care has a portion of that has low levels of awareness that is pretty let's say shameful. Absolutely shameful. But there's no shaming people anymore, because the selfishness, the saturated selfishness of all of us is what enables and powers the system. And of course, you listen to Alex Jones, and he'll sit there and he's making excuses for Trump and his actions and all those other things, justifying, trying to. Again, I don't really think that he is this awful guy. I just think that he's selfish in his what the outcome is, because he's got 3 children. I'm pretty sure that's established. How's it going?
For Trump?
No, Jones. Just trying to put this together, because Jones is still a pretty big part of this, and as you can imagine, with all of the negative publicity, the negative notoriety that Jones has gotten over the last year or so with Trump, actually interviewing Trump at one point, where it was like, how, why would Trump do, he's running, this is during his run. He gets on the airwaves with a guy who makes all of the, all the accusations and talks about the New World Order and all this. And then, of course, you see like the New York Times talking about Alex Jones, and then they'll put clips, like they'll put the YouTube clips in there, and then you watch some of them and it's like, yeah, this video is not helping any of his cause. But it is a very interesting dynamic. He's always going to be part of this. He's always going to be the number one conspiracy theorist. And so, and again, and thanks to Clint and his research, we now know more about, and we understand more, because it's totally. He's totally part of these extended families. And his part in this is his own selfishness. And of course, he's made an incredible amount of money doing and working towards that selfishness, while he says it's all about us, it's all about you, which I totally believe that there is that too, that he needs the masses. He needs a certain percentage of people to believe in him, and I think he does care about other people. I don't think that you can be a father, or you can be, and not have, like, I think that people, even people that don't have children, that they have people in their lives that they protect and that they try to keep safe and things like that. So if you have your own biological children, there is that And then the attack on women, the real attack on women, not the wage disparity, the wage war, waging war on wages. Women have been attacked. They have been weaponized, just like men. Men have been weaponized. When you take a man and you turn him into a soldier, you've weaponized him. And then, once you've weaponized him and used him for nefarious reasons, purposes, then that's why they killed them, by not giving them health care and or giving them deadly health care in the form of vaccines and things like that. And we know that it's a real thing because there was the scandal and one guy got fired, and now and again, I don't think, even if Trump is trying to be on the right side of history, I don't think there's anything that he can do against this power base. There's just nothing. That's why he attacked Syria. And then you could look at it from this standpoint. He attacked a specific area that made it look like, now strategically, you could look at it and say, it may have a positive outcome, or that there are beneficial things that can come from it. But that can only be determined later. And the whole North Korea, South Korea dynamic is very interesting because, and I was watching that Tucker Carlson guy. And he had someone on there that was breaking down the whole thing. I'll see if I can get that on here. It was really interesting how the guy was breaking it down. Along with the guy that said, let me see if I can get him on here. I don't know if this is the right one, but let me see. Oh, here it is.
Finish the job that we started in the Korean War. So this is part of their mythology. Children have to wait outside the library at night waiting for U.S. spies. So this is something they've been prepping for decades.
So we know that they are paranoid and warlike, and they have an enormous military. What is their aim? What do they want?
The regime wants to hold on to power at any cost necessary. During the 90s, when the famine hit, the UN was expelled from North Korea because Kim Jong-il said, if we have the UN feeding our people, they won't need the government, and up to 10% of the population starved. So when you look at Libya, if you look at Iraq, if you look at Slobodan Milosevic and Romania, when these regimes go down, the people at the top are personally killed. So Kim Jong-un has a very vested interest in maintaining his hold on power, even if he doesn't believe in the system anymore.
So wouldn't, and he does seem evil, but in some ways a rational actor. He's consolidated power as a very young man. Doesn't that suggest restraint? I mean, an attack on South Korea wouldn't help him, would it, or would it?
Well, it absolutely would not help him but at the same time, if his back's against the wall, he's going to go down fighting. His father, Kim Jong-il, got the Supreme Commander role, according to the mythology, because Kim Il-sung, the great leader, the founder, said, what do we do if we lose? And Kim Jong-il said, if we lose, we will destroy the world. And Kim Il-sung said, spoken like a true Supreme Commander. So part of their mythology is you have to live with the spirit of the bullet and the bomb and lay down your life on behalf of the leader. So these people are not going down without a fight. The Pyongyang metro is the deepest metro in the world because it's a bunker in case of a nuclear strike. A huge percentage of their infrastructure is subterranean. They have been waiting for years, and they're taught it in schools that we're going to come back and kill them all.
How do you think they'll react to feeling cornered, to the ultimatum laid down by the Trump administration?
I'm absolutely terrified, because you remember President Trump during the campaign said, if someone hits you got to hit him back harder, and that's their exact mentality. And they have no allegiance to anyone. The scariest part is there are 100 to 200,000 people in concentration camps in North Korea right now. You can see the camps on Google Earth, and the people in these camps are told explicitly and constantly, if the U.S. imperialists invade, we will kill you all and burn these camps down. So if there's an attack, we might be looking at genocide within one day.
So we have a lot of American troops, of course, in South Korea, and the North Korean government has said, as we said in the intro, they will be killed immediately. Is that a plausible threat? Could they do that?
Absolutely. Seoul is the capital of South Korea.
Of course.
We divided the Koreas right directly north of Seoul after World War II. So for them to strike Seoul, which is 10 million people, with a nuclear weapon would be absolutely easy to do. And Kim Jong-il boasted that he turned North Korea into a hedgehog with spines in every direction, by which he meant missiles, and that a hedgehog can't be attacked by any larger animal. So this has been their idea for a very long time.
So the assumption, I think, of a lot of people in Washington is that China will prevent this from happening, that North Korea is a client state and it's not in the Chinese interest to allow this to happen. Is that true? Do they have control over the North Korean government?
No, China has been leaning on them and trying to get them to calm down for a very long time. And North Korea rebels in the fact that they're a country the size of Pennsylvania, and they basically give the finger to China, Russia, Japan, the U.S. imperialists, and South Korea. So China can't really control them either. The only thing they've done is in the 70s, when they built a 70-story statue of Kim Il-sung in Pyongyang and plated in gold, China said, this isn't what communism is about, so they changed it to bronze. So Kim Jong-il said the Chinese system won't work here. We're Korean. Our systems are for us, and they call themselves a shrimp among whales, by which they love the fact that they're small, scrappy guys taking on the big boys.
Yeah, and they're legitimately tough. I mean, there's kind of no doubt about that. So finally, what's the right call at this point? I mean, obviously, the West doesn't want to see a hydrogen bomb in the possession of the North Korean government. That's what they're moving toward, apparently. How do you stop them from doing that without provoking a confrontation like this?
Anyone who says there's an easy, good answer here is not telling the truth. The Chinese don't want 24 million people who have never seen a computer, who don't speak Chinese, crossing the Tumen River and setting up camp in Manchuria. So it's a nightmare situation with no simple answer.
Is there any answer? How about a complex answer?
It's going to have to be some kind of Marshall Plan between China, Russia, Japan, South Korea, and us working together. And they're not going to relinquish their hold on power voluntarily.
Horrifying.
Yeah.
You didn't make me feel better, Michael, but I appreciate the information. That was really interesting.
Thanks, Tucker.
So I saw this interview with this guy who was, I guess, a biographer for I guess, the current son of Kim Jong-il, who's the grandson of, the imperial dictator or whatever that was over there. But there's no doubt in my mind that these dynamics were set up a long time ago to create what we have today. And what he said about there's all of these prisoners of war and people, and maybe even Americans or whatever, that are over there that are in these camps, that they're told, like you heard the guy say, that they're told that if the American imperialists try to do anything, we will kill you all and burn this mother down. And then, of course, 10 million people in South Korea that can be decimated pretty quickly. But then you would imagine, with the American presence that's been there for years, that there are some kind of weapons that are also pointed towards the North Korean areas. But then he said that they do have reinforced bunkers and things like that. So even if they do get struck by some type of weapon, it probably would not wipe out. But then again, what the hell would be left? What the fuck would be left after that? Would they sacrifice all these people? And the guy said, if anyone says there's a simple outcome to this, he said, basically, they're fucking lying to you, because there is no easy decision or outcome that is not good. And he said you could see genocide within incredible genocide within a 24-hour period. So if they do that, then I just say leave these fuckers alone. Leave him alone. Try to get in there and fucking wipe him out covertly. Whatever you have to do to wipe him out and get to his top people. But I guess even if they sensed that that was happening, there's other people there that would that have that ideology, and they know that if these people do know, and it happened in Dresden and in Germany, the Allies just going in there and killing all the innocent German people and all those other things, shit that never ever gets reported, never ever got reported. The author of The Hellstorm wrote about it. They would go in there and they would do the same thing to all of them. We are murderers. We are savages, and that the illusion of civility is just that. It is an illusion. The true nature and what they've turned us all into are savages, and it happens no other way. Savage. So there really is no other, there is no easy outcome here. If they do this, or if something is provoked, this guy, like his father or his father's father said, we will destroy the world. We'll take the rest of the world down with us. So, unless they've got some kind of incredible plan to wipe him out and do something, there's going to be incredible death in South Korea, and of course there will probably be an attack on China and other so it's on. World War III is on. How Trump and Obama are exactly alike. Trump won the 2016 nomination and election largely because he was able to pose as a populist and anti-interventionist, America first. Similarly, Obama won the 2008 election in good part because he promised hope and change, and because he had given a speech years earlier against the then impending invasion of Iraq. Short of disclosure of diaries and other documents from these politicians, we can't know for certain if they planned on reversing much of what they promised, or if the political establishment compelled them to change. But they both eventually perpetrated a massive fraud. What is perhaps most striking is actually how quickly each of them backtracked on their alleged purpose, particularly since they were both proclaimed as representing movements. Even before he took office, Obama stacked his administration with pro-war people. He incredibly kept Bush's head of the Pentagon, Robert Gates, nominated Hillary Clinton for Secretary of State. He didn't nominate shit. They said, this whore is going to be your Secretary of State. And he was like, all right, I'm a whore too. Bring on the whores. Who he beat largely because she voted for giving Bush authorization to invade Iraq. I don't know if that was, that's what they said at the time, so I guess we have to go with it. Other prominent Iraq war backers atop the administration included Joe Biden, Zio Biden, Susan Rice, Richard Holbrooke, who apparently he died, and apparently on his deathbed he was like, "End this war, stop this war." Maybe he didn't know what kind of psychopaths he was working for. Before he was sworn in, Obama backed the 2008 Israeli slaughter of Palestinians in Gaza. All right, and predictably, the Obama years saw a dramatic escalation of the U.S. global assassination program using drones. Obama intentionally bombed more countries than any other president since World War II. Iraq, Syria, Afghanistan, Libya, Somalia, Yemen, and Pakistan. Obama talked about nuclear weapons free world, but geared up to spend $1 trillion in upgrading the U.S. nuclear weapons arsenal. At the end of his administration, attempts at the UN to work toward banning nuclear weapons were sabotaged. I bet. Efforts that the Trump administration continues. See, they have to do these things. It's all about controlling the cattle, making it look like he's doing the things to speak to his base, and then not in the middle doing absolutely nothing. And then at the end, it's either sabotage or the fucking Republicans did this and he wasn't able to do it. I played a clip a little while back of I think it was who was it? Cornel West, and I want to say it was Cornel West and this other guy Ron something. I'm sorry, Grant, or anyway, he said you can break down Obama's speeches and how he addressed each one of them strategically. So he would talk to his base, he would do this, he would do that, and he would, and he would manipulate people, but he didn't write them. He didn't write the speeches, okay? This is all systematically done. And it's not that hard to confuse and manipulate and deceive stupid people. All right, so at his first news conference as president, Helen Thomas asked Obama if he knew of any country in the Middle East that had nuclear weapons. And I'm pretty sure she meant Israel. Obama passed on the opportunity to start unraveling the mountain of deceits that constitutes U.S. foreign policy by simply saying Israel, and instead said that he didn't want to speculate about the matter. Okay. As many have noted recently, Trump seemingly reversed himself on Syria and launched a barrage of cruise missiles targeting Assad. It's part of the whole host of what's called flip-flops. Ex-IM Bank, NATO, China, Russia, Federal Reserve, but we are all, in fact, the unraveling of campaign deceits. Fundamentally, Obama and Trump ran against the establishment, then helped to rebrand it, further entrenching it. Right? And of course, it's not just foreign policy. Obama brought in pro-Wall Street, apparatchiks, Geithner, and others, and others around Robert Rubin, Larry Summers. Some were connected to Goldman Sachs, including Emmanuel, Gary Gensler, and Elena Kagan. And Obama would back the Wall Street bailout. And what did Cornel West call him? Called him a what is that when a football team, a mascot? He was a black mascot, or a black-faced mascot for Wall Street. And that's pretty powerful coming from a Princeton professor who had hopes that Obama was going to do something different. Hope and change. Foiled again. You can be hopeful, but what does that do? It removes you from action. You can hope with your mind that something's going to take place, but usually that means that your feet and your hands and basically yourself does nothing. Let's see. And Wall Street, Trump campaigned as populist and brought in a litany of Goldman Sachs tools, basically Zionist tools, most predominantly Mnuchin at Treasury and Gary Cohn as chief economic advisor. So apparently the Jews and the Zionists know everything about money and what to do and to bring prosperity back to America after another gaggle of Zionists just kept it fucking stagnant like water in a toilet that won't flush. Oh yeah, the swamp, right? Remember the swamp? Draining the swamp? Ha. Ha. We're all bathing in the swamp that will never, ever be drained. The nature of their deception is different. Obama is lawyerly and like Jell-O, hard to pin to the wall. Many of his broken promises are actually violations of the spirit of what he said, not the letter. He can promise to withdraw all combat troops from Iraq, but doesn't inform voters that combat troops, in his parlance, is not the same as troops. And most certainly, many of his backers were utterly infatuated with him and seemed incapable of parsing out his deceitful misimpressions. Obama did, however, outright violate some promises, most obviously to close the gulag at Guantanamo Bay in the first 100 days. Oh, he's supposed to close the prison. Oh, what a nice young man. Trump triangulates by being an electron. He can say X and not X in the span of a minute. Like an electron, he can be in two places at the same time. Trump is just an extreme example of what should be evident. It's largely meaningless if a politician declares a position, especially during campaign. The question is, what have they done? How have they demonstrated their commitment to, say, end perpetual wars or taking on Wall Street? These people are largely salesmen, nor are these patterns totally new. George W. Bush campaigned against nation building and, of course, destroyed nations. Bill Clinton campaigned as a man of hope for the little guy. George H.W. Bush claimed he was a compassionate conservative, all backed corporate power and finance, all waged aggressive war. In both cases of Obama and Trump, the opposition party put forward a ridiculous critique that pushed them to be more militaristic. Obama as a secret Muslim, right, which gave him more license to bomb more Muslim countries while still having a ridiculous image of being some sort of pacifist. Much of the liberal and progressive critique of Trump has been focusing on Russia, in effect, pushing Trump to be more militaristic against other major nuclear state, against the other major nuclear state on the planet. One thing that is needed is citizens aided by media and adroitly and accessibly pierce through the substantial deceptions in real time. Basically, they're both full of fucking shit. Only when there's adherence to real values and when solidarity is acted upon will the cycles of betrayal be broken. And of course, the people and the commoners have nothing to do with that, right? they're never at the top going to achieve any of that. They're never going to adhere to real values. They're just never, because if they did that, they would be executed. Let's see. New leaks suggest NSA penetrated Mideast banking networks. A new set of documents reportedly lifted from the U.S. National Security Agency suggests that American spies have burrowed deep into the Middle East financial network, apparently compromising the Dubai office of the anti-money laundering and financial services firm EastNets. The company said Friday that documents were dated and denied that any customer data had been affected. If it's a bank in Dubai, you can guarantee that there is the inside man and the mole. The IRS seized millions of dollars from law-abiding small businesses using asset forfeiture. According to a report by Watchdog Group, the Treasury Inspector General for Tax Administration, the IRS has been taking millions of dollars from businesses who committed no crimes, using asset forfeiture as the method by which to take the money legally without charges. Western security services were warned the Stockholm terrorist was an ISIS fanatic before he plowed a truck into shoppers, killing 4 people, Uzbekistan says. Probably another operative. U.S. successfully tests new nuclear gravity bomb, the Moab, the mother of all bombs, right? U.S. oil assets could fall into Russian hands if Venezuela defaults. If Jeff Sessions wants to crack down on medical marijuana, he'll have to battle more than half the country. The U.S. and China, why the sudden convergence on North Korea? Pharmaceutical giant GlaxoSmithKline plotted to destroy cancer drugs to drive prices up 400,000%. U.S. insurers sue Saudis for $4.2 billion over 9/11. Trump's CIA director Pompeo, targeting WikiLeaks, explicitly threatens speech and press freedoms. If you're wondering why Trump can just bomb countries, ask Obama, Bush, and Clinton. Why? Because they've been given the same authority. Right? So, let's see. Comey okays, that's FBI Director James Comey, okays a new TV series to boost the FBI's image. Yeah, and say this and do that. Yeah, because we've kind of lost a little bit of confidence, and the commoners have lost confidence in us, and we need to. I'm James Comey. Comb to the E. Al Qaeda is on our side in Syria. Email shows Clinton knew the United States worked with terrorists. It's all. Newly released FBI interview claims FBI contacted Boston bombers before the attack. Now, this was in the New York Times that the FBI, frames people and then calls them terrorists after they frame them. Let's see here. So yeah, it's just unbelievable. It's unbelievable how we just sit back and allow all of these things and ask no fucking questions. And why? Why would you ask any questions if the news is there to answer the questions? Or the fake news is there to answer the questions so that you don't have to get an answer from someone else. Thanks for tuning in. Full Reality Radio. Stay tuned for Ron Stevens. Rock the boat. Rock the boat. Rock the boat.
The hit list soon as they start to rabble. They are nothing but fishes in the barrel. It doesn't have to be Christmas for a carol. Some decorate with ornamental decorum. Some perform shock and awe on Hanukkah and Purim. That's where my job come in. I am a blessing to the mercenary. For the corporation selling weapons to them. Any potential competitor step into them. I'm authorized to knock them out and stick a GPS into them. They wanna sell uranium to Iran that's enriched. That's a bitch. Now we gotta teach a lesson to them.